Hi, good morning and welcome to today's morning report on Friday the 27th of March with me, Rich Pro-Market Analyst at Handtech Markets. The European trading session has got off to a mixed start really. Bit of dollar strength coming back into the markets in the last 24 hours and that's been mixed with some equity markets weakness. Certainly into the close yesterday, Wall Street was again slightly down 0.2% on the S&P 500. And that sort of filtered through into the Asian session. Asian session was also sort of impacted by weak Japanese data actually across the board. Retail sales came in lower than expected, and also the inflation data showed that adjusted for the to take out the sales tax hike, inflation is around about zero in Japan at the moment. So creeping back towards deflation, and that sort of obviously opens up for potential policy implications there. But the big mover that we've seen today is the dollar, and this dollar index is climbing back towards this 21-day moving average, which has been a very good basis of support, I think, on this chart. It'll be interesting to see now, having sort of traded back below it, it'll be interesting to see if it sort of starts to stall again. So a very interesting move, I think, that we've seen there. Now, the other interesting move I've just noticed is this VIX sharply higher yesterday again after 2 days. So that was just the fact that we've had 2 days of selling pressure on the S&P 500 has caused this sharp increase in the VIX volatility. So there is certainly still a fear out there that fund managers are looking out for potential short covering, potential covering of portfolios by using put positions on their options. So it is interesting that we're seeing that move. So there is obviously that fear still in the market that something could be about to come through in terms of a big correction. But we'll see how that one really progresses. Now that dollar index is I think the big mover today. We've seen the euro sharply down actually. Big turnaround. That big turnaround on the dollar has come since yesterday afternoon actually. About in the middle of the afternoon in European trading hours, the FOMC member Dennis Lockhart, who is a reputed dove on the committee, started to suggest that there was still potential for a June, July, or September rate hike in the meetings for the FOMC. So the market took that as a fairly hawkish statement from someone who's previously been rather on the dovish side. So that is a very interesting factor that's seen this dollar turn around quite significantly yesterday. We've actually seen some big turnaround signals on charts such as the euro and also sterling, so I'll talk about those in a little bit, but very interesting moves that we've seen in the last few hours. Now that in terms of data we got out today, not a huge amount. You've got the final reading of US GDP. US GDP was in Q3 came in final reading of 5% on an annualized basis, but the last reading of Q4 was 2.2%. The expectation is actually for GDP to come in at just slightly better than that, at 2.4%, so a slight increase on the second reading. But the expectations are for currently at Q1 that the run rate's down back at around about 2.0%. So still GDP is a little bit lackluster in the last few months, it would appear. That's at 12:30 UK time this afternoon. Then we've also got the revised Michigan sentiment indicator. That's at 2 o'clock UK time, and that's expected to just improve very slightly on the latest reading of 91.2 coming up to 92.0, but you can see that is again down from the 95.4 that we had last month. So that takes me to my chart of the day, which is the Aussie actually, because what we've seen in the Aussie is some really interesting jump higher, but then we've started to hit into this band of resistance overhead. And that has just now started to see the Aussie drift backwards again. This is interesting because it's coming around the point at which the momentum indicators hit or started to turn around. Certainly on the stochastics back in February at that high as well. And and we're starting to gain a little bit of momentum to the downside. If you look on this intraday hourly chart, you can see this. We've got these pivot levels that I've drawn in on this chart that had been holding. The first one, 78.50, that had been holding for a couple of days. That broke down. It now went quite quickly back towards the next pivot level around 78 figure, which provided a bit of support, and then we're now back back below that 78 figure mark, and that would suggest we're now possibly coming back to test the next pivot level at 77.40. So that is the next real band of support that I'm looking out for. There's a very minor level around 77.60, which captured a couple of lows from the 20th and the 23rd, but still I think 77.40 is a key near to medium term pivot level on this chart. So if we start to see the Aussie trading below that, that would certainly be a little bit of a concern for the bulls. And certainly already you're still seeing the in the last few days, the lower highs and lower lows on the Aussie. You're seeing the momentum indicators dropping away into negative configuration, and the moves being confirmed by the RSI. So certainly is now struggling. This RSI, for example, finding resistance around the 60 point and coming back towards 30. That would suggest that you're sort of starting to turn into a more negative near-term outlook. And also these moving averages rolling over as well. So in the last couple of days, you're certainly seeing the momentum starting to build to the downside on this Aussie chart. In terms of turning the sentiment around, you'd probably need to rally back above that peak at 78.84 now that we had yesterday's high. But at the moment, it certainly doesn't look as though there's any real appetite for buying the Aussie. It's looking more to the downside. You could well see if this momentum continues and move back towards these key lows around 76 figure. But at the moment, we're still obviously holding up above the 77.40 medium term pivot level. Anyway, I wish you good luck in your trading on the Aussie today, and I will speak to you later. Thank you.